I grew up in Needham. I'm currently 32. I moved abroad when I was 22, so I've currently been 10 years outside of the US, and due to family circumstances, I'm looking to relocate back home. And the prices of housing here has really saddened me. And talking with some of my high school friends, I've realized that Needham has actually become completely unaffordable for anybody in my high school class, and we're all in our mid-30s. A lot of my friends have great paying jobs. My husband is an IT engineer, actually a manager, and I'm a chemical engineer. And so I feel that if us in those positions in our mid-30s can't afford to live here, who can? And we're really looking to buy a house at this point of our lives. Our parents were able to by this age and in Needham. So we're just really looking to find affordable housing in this area and to see prices go down, because I know on my parents' street, all the new construction, huge mansions, 2 mil and above, it's made it completely impossible to live within the suburb. And for us that have grown up in Needham, it's quite depressing to not be able to live where you grew up. And I'm hoping that soon, most of my generation and younger generations would be able to live within a 10 to 15 mile radius of Boston, especially with the sorts of jobs that we have. So yeah, I'm hoping that the coalition can do something about the prices of houses around here, in other suburbs maybe, and get it so we can live near to home again.
I have been a resident of Needham for 24 years, and I'm here to speak to the need for housing for special needs children who are disabled children who will grow up to become special needs disabled adults in our town. People who have the conception that the government will provide care and housing for our disabled adults, such as the Department of Veterans Affairs, or in our case, the Department of Developmental Services, or human service organizations contracted by DDS or outsourced to them by DZS, but that's actually not the reality. There are significantly involved adults who will be deemed priority one, who will receive a placement in the community-based residences. But the majority, it will fall upon the parents, the mothers and fathers, to find a place for their children to live, hopefully before they die. So what are the options here in Needham? And, I think about, can I convert my home into a specialized home with a room for my son and the other 2 rooms being converted into a unit for residence for 2 other people and a live-in caregiver? Or do the, local zoning restrictions preclude that? What about a rental property in the town for those disabled adults who won't be working competitively and earning a competitive income? Can they apply their Section 8 housing voucher or another affordable housing voucher to that rental property? I don't think there are any in Needham that do. We do have the local housing authority. The supply there is limited. There is a wait list. But even if your name does come to the top of that list, the unit might not be suitable, navigable for your disability. Needham is a great town, particularly because the configuration of town center in Needham Heights, the radius of the neighborhoods, has a lot of residential homes, and it's very walkable. And this makes it accessible for people with disabilities. Transportation is a key issue, and if our disabled adults can get into the town to meet their own needs, buying their groceries, getting to the pharmacy, or for other amenities, going to the library, going to the community council, going to the pool, the town pool in the summer, getting to the parade, participating in the fireworks, this contributes a lot, enables their independence. I'd like to find a way for them to be able to stay in this town that they know and who knows them. So there are no simple solutions that's very complex. But as we plan for the town's future, I hope you will keep their future in mind. Thank you.
My wife and I moved here in 1971 when I first was starting my first job. We moved here from the Midwest. So needless to say, prices were a little bit of a shock even then compared to what you could buy in the Midwest. But we found a house in Needham that we could afford and it met our needs. We're still living in that house 53 years later. There's a lot of stairs in the house. So far, that has not been a major issue. But no, we're sort of looking for options. We need a place which is senior friendly, probably all on one floor. We'd like to be with a group of people. For example, Rosemary Ridge type development, something like that. The problem that you're running into is that you're downsizing in a sense, but it costs almost as much as the house that you're selling. So you don't get a big nest egg out of selling your house, which means that you probably will stay in the house for as long as you possibly can. I know a lot of other people in Needham who solved their problem by moving out of town. And they've lost all their friends and now they're in a new town and they have to try and make a whole new set of friends. Or they hang on to their Needham friends and they come running back to Needham all the time. Others are hanging on as best they can in the house that they've had for a long time. And then others have moved in with children or they've added on to a child's house and add an in-law apartment, accessory dwelling unit, and solve the problem that way. But usually that means moving out of town. So what we need to do as we're rethinking how or what Needham needs to promote for housing stock is to promote almost a senior village concept, where it would be a condominium, but it would have a village feel. I know people who have sold their homes maybe 5 or 10 years ago, and they're now renting in Needham. They were lucky enough to find something at the time, but there just aren't many places like that in Needham. I know of a family who's lived in town about the same length of time we have, and they just sold their house, and they did very well on the sale, and they tried to find a place to rent in Needham, and they thought they had a place and it fell through, and now they're ending up living and moving down to the Cape. But they're going to run into the same problem that I already discussed. They won't know anybody. And then they're going to be all alone, and it's going to lead to isolation, and that's not good.
Massachusetts is facing a terrible housing crisis, and it impacts every element of what we do and what we care about. Our children have no place to live when they grow up. Our adult children have no place to go to. Our seniors have no place to downsize. When employers are trying to bring someone here or help convince someone to take a job here, they don't have a place. They find employees turn them down because they can't find a place to live close to the jobs that they've just taken. We have one example where we heard from an employer who had offered a nice job at a good pay for a tech company here in Needham. The employee accepted the job, came here to start house hunting, looked around, realized that he couldn't possibly afford to move his family here into a home, and turned the job down that he accepted. And that happens way too often, all in Needham and across the region. There's just not enough places for people to work. But the other advantage is that adding more people to our community, allowing more variety, small houses, small apartments, will really help our businesses in another important way too, just that there's more customers. Having more customers close to downtown Needham, having more customers in the Heights or wherever we end up adding more housing will help every business, because that being close to where you live is where you shop and where you dine. So it really could, for those of us who all care passionately about our small businesses in Needham, having more housing close to our employers, close to our shops, close to our restaurants, not only helps those restaurants and shops find employees, but also gives them the customers they need to continue.